Hey everyone, before we start the next podcast, I just want to thank all of you for tuning into Short Track Stories. If you like the content, do me a favor, subscribe to our channel, hit like, make comments, and share with your family and friends. Thank you. Welcome to Short Track Stories.
So he's coming to your right side of the way. 2, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Rick Crow, and this is Short Track Stories.
So we're back with another episode of Short Track Stories. It's been a layoff and getting some treatments and some stuff going on my end, but it's been a long time coming with Patrick Mintey Jr. and it's an actual. I feel bad because it was actually what was going on with your dad that got me thinking about doing a podcast and the fact that we should start getting some of these stories on on people. But I waited too long, and that's a shame. But so here we are, Pat Mintey Jr., 35X.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I heard that.
Yeah. What's going on with you? We're both in Utah now. That's kind of cool, huh?
Yeah, literally cool. It was 45 here today, I think.
Oh, I
So,
saw 39 this morning when I woke up, but
yeah, that's our high, brother. That was our high.
your high was 45?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we got 3 inches of snow on the ground yesterday, and most of it melted off today or yesterday. We got the snow, but anyways, yeah, we're oddly enough up here.
It's kind of cool that you get just enough snow to see it and then it goes away. Kind of the same way it was in Quartz Hill.
Yeah, yeah, just more of it, more frequent. Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Did you go to Quartz Hill High School? You went to Saugus High.
Yeah, as a Saugus high.
There are a lot of racers from Saugus.
Yeah, me and Lance Super, we were in the same grade and all that stuff. So that when we moved to Saugus, I think in 81 or 2, we went to junior high and then all high school together, which probably was borderline mistake actually. But
Did you guys go to West Seco?
yeah,
And where did you
yeah.
live in Saugus? What area?
Bouquet Canyon, just up where just past the last 7-Eleven, maybe a mile up the road from there.
We
Hmm.
almost bought a house up there when we were in. I know we looked at a house up there under some power lines. My mom didn't like it because of the power lines, but
Hmm.
um, so the 7-Eleven and then you make a left at the 7-Eleven and go in there, or did you go further past the
No,
7-Eleven?
we'd go about a mile up the road. There's a little street called Steve John, and it would turn down. We live right. We backed up to the wash, and
Oh,
if you
okay.
looked across the wash just right, you could see Woodside's house.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
Is Woodside younger than you?
Sean,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. He was probably a freshman when I was a senior or junior. I can't remember.
Yeah, so there was Carafel, but he kind of just came and went at Irwindale. I think he raced the year I raced modifieds, and I don't remember seeing him again. And then
Mm,
obviously Hooper, you, Woodside,
yep. Mm-hmm.
anybody else famous?
Driver wise, I,
Yeah.
I can't I can't remember. I don't know.
So just for me to get some time squared away, what year did you graduate?
85,
So you were born in like 67.
correct.
So by the time you were kind of old enough, 67, so you were like 10 years old when your dad made his first trip around in a West car. right? Top end?
Probably, yeah. It was in yeah. Back to 77, he was the rookie of the year. Yeah. In Winston West that year.
It looks like he made a couple starts the year before, probably just to get used to the car. Did he race at Saugus too?
He did. He started there, golly, before I was born. He was 18 years old when he started racing Saugus. Um, yeah, I remember him talking about having a 50 or 51 Ford business coupe. Had to say business coupe and a flathead Ford in it. He um, he was just old enough to race, and they towed it with my grandma's 55 or 56 Chevy. It was all jet black car. It was beautiful. So they towed it with a tow bar all the way from Tahunga to Sauga Speedway. And my uncle Mike, he would be in the race car, and he would hide down there and use the brakes on the race car to slow it down when it come down the hill and all that stuff. So
Oh,
that
that was
was
legit.
that was legit. You did what you had to do, you know.
So they went to Verdugo Hills High School, and
Yeah,
so I mean, at a minimum, if you were really into Hunga, depends on what side of that first grade you were on. If you were around Wheatland and kind of that area, um, you didn't have to go up and down any hills. But if they were deeper
yeah,
in, like where Lowell was and stuff, then
yeah.
they had
They
to go up and down
they're
some
quite a
hills.
ways up there. There was a fire station right close to their house, so that's about where they were at.
That's
So
crazy.
yeah, that's what they did. And they took the old road, you know. But yeah, they did it with a tow bar. And my uncle Mike was telling me that one day the tow bar broke, and so they had to what they had to do, they had to stash the my grandma's car at the fire station because my grandpa was a fireman at that fire station for a while. And then they drove the race car to the track and got pulled over by cops, and then they had to talk their way out of that. And, had to use grandpa's name, fireman, this and that, and they ended up getting to the racetrack that day without getting a ticket, I guess. But they
Good
had to
time.
fix a tow bar that night, I guess.
So was your grandpa a fireman all the time, his
Yeah.
whole career?
Yeah, he was a fireman after the war. He fought in World War II. He was also a motorcycle racer back in the day, and that's where the number 35 came from, was my grandpa, my dad's dad. So
Was
just
he a flat track guy or a motocross guy? Or
I think it was more flat track stuff. And I remember him telling me he didn't talk about the motorcycle as much, but he did a lot of motorcycle racing, and he did another deal where it has to do with gas mileage. Who got the best gas mileage? So he was always putting like sewing machine oil in his wheel bearings and all kinds of stuff to get the best mileage out of it. It was quite the story, he used to say.
pretty sure that that was probably tried in a race car at some point by the Minties.
Uh,
Some of that
yeah,
thin oil.
yeah, he was a heck of a diesel mechanic. That was his deal, fireman, but he was more of a diesel mechanic than a fireman. But he did
So
both.
where did his nickname Doc come from?
Oh, so apparently, my uncle Mike, I think his appendix were giving him a problem, or he had some type of pain, and he prepped him on the kitchen table. He was going to do surgery in the kitchen table on my uncle Mike, and then I think Grandma stopped him, talked him out of it. Yeah, so the name Doc stuck. It was Grandpa Doc forever and ever, amen.
That, that's crazy. And he's a member of the greatest generation. So I mean, he served in
Yeah,
World War II. He probably
yeah.
saw some of that stuff and was like, "Hey, but you
Let's
guys
fix it.
you didn't have any whiskey in the house though, so he was
Well, they,
probably
they weren't they weren't church members. They didn't go to
they
that
weren't.
side. No, not that side. No. Mm-mm.
How about
That
Mike?
Uncle Mike, no, he's not. He don't belong to church. He's doing well. He's retired. Him and his wife Linda travel in the country all over the place. And in fact, he called me today. He's in Laramie watching it snow in Laramie, Wyoming, and he'll be down our way maybe tomorrow, or the next day. We'll hang out a
What did
few
he
days.
do for a living?
He worked corrections as well.
Oh,
Yeah, he's the one that got us started in correctional deal, which paid off really well. Um, and he was also in the Navy, and then he came home from the Navy and raced Saugus for a few years as well. He was really good. From my understanding, he was in the LSD division, I think it was number 16. He bought the Hooper car. It was a convertible, bought it from Wayne Hooper, and he I think he won half the main events that one season he was in. He was
wow.
he was a shoe. Yeah. He was a shoe, and then he wrecked the car real bad. I think it burned up, and then I think they both got kicked out of the speedway that night forever. But,
Can you
yeah.
tell us what they did? Something to
Oh, I think it was the last race of the season, and he'd won half the races, and the other guy won half the races. I think there was a technicality or something. I don't know all the details, but I do know that a snack bar paid the price for it. They kind of got backed in or run through or something. They had to pay a hefty fine to replace the snack bar, and was asked not to come back for a long time. In fact, the only time Dad was able to go back is when Winston West was racing there. He could go back because it wasn't under the Saugus Speedway sanctioning body, under NASCAR. So he was raced there a couple of times. But yeah, that was that.
Of course, they would have been Marshall Wilkins' time, not Ray's time, probably until the very end.
Mm-hmm. Well, they probably deserved it, but
Who was older, your dad or Mike?
My dad. My dad was the oldest. There's three. There's my dad, Uncle Mike, and Kathy, his sister.
And for you, there's just you and your sister, right?
Yeah,
So they were smart. They had one of each, and they're like done.
that was it. Yeah.
That's the way to do it. So it's interesting to me that the guys of that era, and I've talked to Bo and Shell and Sedgwick and Trucheek, and Cedric went from like racing figure eight street stock, like at the same time. I'm going to go race on the Ontario 500. Like, I can't. I mean, today I couldn't fathom doing that. I mean, it was hard to go from like a street stock to a super late or a modified and get on a half mile track like Mesa, let alone be like, oh, I think I'm just going to tow this down to Ontario. And your dad, he jumped into the West, the rookie of the year, like you said, in 77. And the other thing that's amazing, so I mean, your dad had 7 top tens his rookie year, and he was really good. Not just the typical where you would expect him to be good at Orange Show or Vegas or Cajon or Shasta or something. Your dad was 3 top tens on the dirt at Gardena. Right?
He finished second to Vic Irvin, and Ron Gauci was third, and those two guys were like, they were amazing on the dirt, and Dad finished in between them.
Yeah, Irvin
and I
came
remember,
from the dirt.
I think Dad even borrowed those tires to race that night, and I think he borrowed them from Linder, if I remember right.
He had good runs at Sonoma. He had good runs at Riverside. He had good runs at Willow Springs, which was a road course. There's not iRacing. There's no simulator. So Pops just straps it in and decides, I think I'll go run Ontario. And then he straps it in and says, I think I'll go run some road races now. And he's good at it. That's just natural talent.
Yeah, he was natural, had a good feel. He could see things that you couldn't. He just if his dictionary didn't have the words can't, won't, and quit. They're not in his dictionary.
I can see that. I can see.
Yeah. I would say, Dad, what about this? What about? He goes, so what? Let's do it. And everything. I remember him saying, so what? So what? So what? Let's do it. Dad, we can't do that. So what? Let's do it.
And he kept that attitude late enough in his life for you to hear that attitude. I remember that there was times when I was like that. Hey, let's just do it.
Mhm.
But I feel like there's a time when I stopped saying that,
Mhm.
in my life. But it sounds like your dad
Mm-mm.
played by that rule for a long time.
Yeah, I don't think it ever stopped. It never stopped. Even after he got sick, it was, I mean, there was times where they were prepping us that he's not going to make it, not going to make it, not going to make it. And to the point where it's like, we told the doctors, we've been down this road before. You don't know this guy, you know? And I remember one night when it was one of those days where it was serious, not going to make it. Hospice is there setting up everything, and he's in the room. I said, Dad, okay, let's have a talk. And he wasn't verbal anymore. And then I said, okay, Dad, let me just, I got this. I'll do what you want me to do. And his eyes, oh my gosh, were like, like, are you quitting on me? And I said,
You
oh,
were even talking now. You saw that.
yeah, I saw it in his eyes because I seen it. Like, oh, okay, all right, let me back up. All right, let's do this. Because he was under orders like no food, no drink, no nothing, and that was it. And by the end of the night, he was eating pudding.
So you say you saw that look in his eyes. Like my dad used to have a look in his eyes when he was going to, whoop my ass, right? Like I was get smacked upside the head or whatever.
Yeah, you know that look, right? Like,
right. Is that the look you're talking about? Like, hey, you better go out there and win this race. Like, we're not done here yet. Like, we wrecked and we're going to fix it. Or like that kind of look. Like,
yeah, like that stare at you. Like, I'm just looking straight through you. Like,
yeah.
And that's okay, Dad. Let me back up and let's figure this out.
Yeah.
And so I
knew
started.
That look.
Oh, I knew the look. They said they don't even give them ice chips. So I started with ice chips, and then I started with a little sit. It wasn't, it was going down. I yelled at Mom, you're not going to believe this. Yeah, he was eating chocolate pudding before the night was over.
So I didn't look at the schedules, but I do know from looking at Jimmy and some other stuff, and we've talked about me doing this research on NASCAR, why they buried the West, why they've done people like your dad and Insolo, why they've done them wrong. And now there's that lawsuit going on with 23 and 11 with NASCAR. And so
yeah,
I think I'm about there where I'm going to, after this podcast, I'm going to probably do a 2-part series because I think I've gotten to the bottom of what happened actually. And so, but I was looking at the schedules and I didn't pull your dad's up, but when you're talking about 17 races and 19 races and 14 and 18 and 30 in a year, I seen some stuff on Insolo's schedule where they raced on like, I don't know, Thursday night in Washington and a Friday night in Idaho, and then went to Canada on Saturday night on like 4th of July weekends or whatever.
Yep.
What is it? So let's say you're 67. So your dad's first year in West, you're old enough to remember that stuff.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, 77. I was 10 years old. I can remember our first trip up north. It started out in a complete disaster. And again, like I said, his dictionary didn't have those words in it. We were going in a 1965 Chevy pickup truck with a Dolphin camper on it, open trailer, being followed by a guy with probably another equivalent truck, camper shell, and like a U-Haul trailer for parts because we had to change gears. We had to do all that stuff, you know. We didn't have quick change. So we had, you know, 9-inch Ford gears lined up for each track, wheels and everything else. So we lived in Arleta at the time. We're going up the Grapevine. It was, I think we left in the evening trying to get as far as we could. I don't know what day of the week it was. And we get to almost Castaic, no, that Lake Pyramid up there. I think it was Templin Highway. So Templin Highway comes, rings the bell, breaks the motor in the truck. Yeah. So here we are on the side of the highway, Interstate 5, with a broken engine in the truck towing the race car. No cell phones, of course. So Dad, we unloaded the race car, unloaded the camper off that truck because the engine was broke, pushed the truck away, and brought the other truck around and undid the trailer on that, loaded up so it's our broken motor on the trailer, that truck, Dad's truck on the trailer, and towed it back down to the valley to go borrow somebody else's truck. And I think the guy they borrowed Jim Gilliam's truck. He's a famous name from Sauga Speedway. Oh, he helped out a lot build that car in '77 anyway. I mean, he was always there for Dad. But yeah, went and borrowed somebody else's pickup truck, and we went on up north. And you know, we did it. That was the rookie year. Almost didn't happen.
Single axle or double axle trailer?
Double axle.
I saw a lot of guys towing like a single axle with not even fenders on it or anything, you know.
Yeah, it was nice. It was like when I think Third Killer had something to do with those trailers back in the day, or he drew them up and everybody was copying them or something like that. You know, Dad, it was a nice trailer.
Did Mike travel with your dad to all the races?
No, not that time. He would do some. He'd do a couple a year. He'd do what he could, you know. But he wasn't, you know, regular. Probably the most regular guy he had back then was the guy named Russ Hemmelspa. And he was like a grandpa to me, and he was always there for Dad. We had, you know, we always had a good crew, you know, to go up there, and because you needed it, you know.
I can't even imagine. I mean, I remember the grapevine felt like the Great Divide. I remember I wanted to go up there and run the Jim's Towing big street stock race every year and that kind of stuff. And it was like, I mean, for like my first probably 2 years racing at Saugus, I used the tow dolly behind a mini truck. And just,
oh wow,
my back two tires on my pro stock were on the ground and I towed it that way. So the grapevine just seemed like, you know, that's pretty far up there.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
You know, if you can get over the grapevine, then you got it made to like Grants Pass in Oregon or something. And
yeah.
so that's your earliest memory. Now, full family, like I talked to the elders, and they were full family everywhere. Like Peggy and remembers going everywhere with her dad and the mom. And did you stay at the race ranch or the barn? And
oh, you talk about Fred and Rosie's.
Fred and Rosie's.
It was in SeaTac. It's between Seattle and Tacoma. That was probably the most fun. Here you are, right? I mean, 10 years old the first year I went there, and then all the way up to, you know, I don't remember, you know, teens for real. And then they had a regular sized home, but it had a big basement. In the basement, there was probably 10 beds on one side of the basement, and utility room in the middle, and probably another 10 on the other. And there was 1 or 2 bedrooms upstairs. And the people that did the tour the longest got to have a bedroom. But you know, other than that, you're all the crew guys were just having a time downstairs, you know, in the basement. And those are some of the best times growing up ever. I'm telling you, it was just so much fun. And they probably had an acre or so in the back that was just green with trees and lush and just beautiful. And the race car wise, they had a carport, a 1-car garage. Sumner McKnight was usually in one of those. with the Baxter brothers and stuff like that. And then Fred built a big shop. You put about 5 race cars in that. And then, yeah, it was some of the best times because you got to really know the people. If you're short-handed, you'd help each other, you know, tackle the car that was the worst off and go from there, you know. The evenings were an absolute blast because it was just it was like a racing heaven, if you will, because at night you just chew the fat, you know. Somebody'd run to the store and they'd come back with about 5-6 gallons of ice cream after you ate dinner and tell stories and reminisce. And I'll never forget one night, Dad's crew chief was a guy named Mike Brandt out of San Diego. He was crew chief for Sumner and Richard White, and some of those guys in the day. He was really, really a top wrench. And they're talking in the living room one night. And Dad started telling a story about one of the races he raced at Oildale. He was driving somebody's car. I can't remember who that person was. And they had qualifying races. There was a big show. And some guy took him out, so he wasn't going to be able to make the main. So Dad, he didn't take too kindly to that. So he waited for the guy or something, caught up to him and wrecked him. And the guy ended up flipping down the back straightaway real bad, messed the car up real bad, destroyed it. And then yeah, all the people were trying to get to him, to Dad, because he was racing a convertible in Oildale. I guess is a pretty violent place, you know. So, or was, I don't know. So they had to hide Dad in like a catering table where they would drape the thing. Dad was little, so they put him underneath there and they rolled him around and rolled the table around and put him up in the announcer's stand. And he had to hide underneath a desk or something until the night was over with.
Classic.
So he's telling this story up at Fred and Rosie's, I don't know, 15, 20 years later. And Mike Brent's listening to this story. He goes, "Oh, you're the SOB that wrecked my car. That was my car." And Mike Brent's dad's crew chief at the time.
Oh, man.
So it came full circle. It was quite hilarious.
Right. Somebody told me that those people, Fred and Rosie, is that what you call them?
Yeah, that was Fred and Rosie Lane.
I think it was Pat Elder told me that they were, somebody ran into them at a hotel at a race. Like they were just originally race fan. And then they were going to a race. I think the Elders ran into them at a hotel.
Mm.
And then it turned into people they became race central when you guys went up there and hit, you know, because you would go up there and they'd go up there and hit 3 or 4 states 3 or 4 nights in a row. I can imagine like what you're saying, you know, you guys probably going up there with 4, 5, 6 sets of gears. And I mean, nowadays you wouldn't make that swing without a full extra engine trans with the whole ball of wax, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, did you ever go to Canada with them?
Yeah. Yeah, race Langley up there and race on the island, Victoria. Yeah. Did all that, remember?
And always
Remember
as a family.
Yeah. Yeah, we all went. We just all went.
That's
you know.
crazy.
It's like, why, you know, you think about it, you think that's crazy. How do you do that? Well, I don't know. You just did it. So what makes it any more harder today than it was back then? I don't know.
They were running but they were full like stock car products, fab clips, or any of them stock clips in the beginning.
When he started out, it wasn't a stock car products car. It was they built the frame in their garage and everything. So it'd probably be more like a sportsman car back in the day. And then he ran that for a little while. And then when he built a brand new car, I think in 81, was that Malibu body, and that was a Speedway Engineering car chassis. Speedway.
So once those guys, stock car products, way before Schrader's time, but Speedway Engineering, once the geometry came into play and the fab clips and templates on bodies and
Yeah.
all that kind of, and I think it took the fun out of it too. I think when they started weighing street stocks, and now you got to have a set of scales, and then they have stupid stuff where you can't have weight jacks. So, okay, but how do I change my weight? I got to
Yeah.
undo everything and shove a spring spacer in there or whatever. But I think that's stuff that Patrick Mintey Jr. never had to deal with, because I don't ever remember you in anything but a pristine sportsman car.
Yeah. I was in a street stock.
Were you really?
I was in '86. And you know who helped me? You know who built that car? Me and Jeff Schrader.
Schrader. 86, that was just before him and Kelly got together. Because I think it was in 88 in hobby stock, the four top guys in points were Krieger, Kelly, Rip, and me.
Yeah.
And then Kelly, I think, stayed one more year. In 89, he stayed in hobby stock, won the championship. And then
Yeah.
in 90, he had that really nice Goddard Nova. And so
Oh, yeah.
I think Schrader worked for Goddard. Was Goddard a fabrication place or something?
Yeah. Well, Bill Goddard, he used to build bodies for the greats like Jim Thurkettle. He did all of Thurkettle's stuff from my knowledge. He came from Thurkettle. He did other people's stuff too. And then he did my bodies in the Sportsman car. My first body was some rag. I mean, Dad bought this body. I can't remember what it was. I hated it. It was so ugly, and Dad, we built this beautiful car. Why do we got to have this body on it? He goes, you're just going to mess it up anyways. And so you win a race, we get a new body. So we ended up getting pretty good. We won a race or two my rookie year in 89 or 9. I can't remember what it was. And Goddard is the one that built that body. So yeah, Bill and Linda Goddard, they were a great help for us for many years.
Well, that's where Schrader got his fab skills from. Was
Yeah.
working there. Although you said he built a car for you in 86. What kind of car was that?
We built a '68 Chevelle together in Dad's garage and up in Saugus there. Yeah. We did it all together. We built the cage, we were best buddies, all through those years. And I raced it one year and went on my mission, came back, and then we built the Sportsman car.
So yeah, so that's interesting too. Like I need to see a picture of that Chevelle. Was it beautiful? Was it a minty piece?
No, it was nice. Yeah. So I raced it a year, and when I left, they put Gardella in it. Jim, and I guess he won all kinds of stuff, but it was for sale, because I was gone. And they raced it 5 or 6 times and was winning all kinds of stuff in it. And then some guy from the grandstands had to come down, gave Dad a big old wad of cash. There it went, But it was a nice car. And I ended up seeing it at Irwindale many years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
The zookeeper drove it, huh?
He drove it, yeah. Yeah.
Did you do eights?
Huh?
Did you do figure eights?
No. I made a dash one time when I did the dash. That was a mistake. I did one lap and they almost lapped me, So I said, this ain't for me.
Every piece I've ever seen a piece of a Mintey thing has just been spectacularly beautiful. Your trailer, your cars, your tow vehicle. Well, I learned a lot from that, not from any words being spoken, but I learned at a young point because no one raced in my family. There was no racers in my family. I was on my own. And but when you looked around and you saw which guys are good, they opened a toolbox drawer and their wrenches were all lined up and clean. Their trailers were clean. Their trucks were clean. Their cars were beautiful. And they never, ever, hardly ever worked on a cartridge track. You see some guys that pull up, they was on jack stands, they're bleeding the brakes and doing it. And you guys were just always, was that something that was instilled in you at an early age?
Oh, yeah. 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 Every night the garage gets clean. All the tools get wiped down. Oh, yeah. It was regimented, but it was fun. And it wasn't just we did it all ourselves. We had lots of help, you know Johnny Parks as well as I do. He was a big part of that, of keeping things, pristine and clean and all that stuff. And yeah, I mean everybody had a job. Everybody liked, what they did. You find everybody's strengths and weaknesses and you use that.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of how we built our teams. Just if they hopefully, they gotta enjoy it, they gotta love it. And if it wasn't perfect, let's keep doing it till it's right. We didn't win every race, but we showed up looking good all the time, that's for sure.
Did you know Hooper? Obviously, did you guys use Hooper's names? Or I mean, so you knew Hooper,
Yeah,
the name Hooper.
I knew
But
Lance from way back, yeah, diaper days type stuff.
what about Schrader? Like, what was his gig? Did he want to be a racer? Was he helping somebody out, or was he?
No, I think the first race car he ever touched was Dad's. He used to go to Speedway and stuff like that. But just I don't know, we just hit it off, good friends, and started doing bicycles and all that stuff. And we could literally ride our bikes home from school, put in Dad's Winston West motor from an engine stand, dress it, install it, have it ready for Dad to light before he got home
In middle school?
in middle school.
So Schrader has a lot of old knowledge that he's been accumulating for a
Yeah, he
long
don't
time.
forget any. Yeah, he's smart anyway. I
No,
mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
he was gonna be all right. And then went off and did his own stuff, he's done good.
Yeah, I'll bet if you looked at his history as a crew chief too, in wins and championships, and
Yeah.
it would be up there. I'm not so sure it'd be where Cedric is, but um, I personally think Cedric belongs in the NASCAR Hall of Fame. And when you look at the
Without a doubt. Yep. He is so, yeah, he's amazing.
when you look at his championships as a crew chief and driver developer, all this kind of stuff, it's
It's off the charts. But then you look at his driving resume as a driver.
mhm.
He's amazing. He's good. Most
Yeah,
down to earth guy you could ever meet.
yeah. For some reason, it's the NASCAR Cup only Hall of Fame unless we know who you are. Some
He called
modified
me.
guys got in, but
Yeah. Cedric called me a couple years back. They were racing that road course up here in Salt Lake, Miller Motorsports Park, whatever they call it. He goes, "Hey, I'm going to be racing up there. Can I get your dad's address?" I'm like, "That's not that close." He goes, "That's okay." He wanted to spend a couple hours with Dad. And I said, Bill, I don't think he doesn't talk anymore, but he'll know that you're there. And man, he came down, spent an hour and a half, 2 hours, him and Kay both. Meant the world to Mom, and I know Dad knew it, because you could tell sometimes by his emotion if you knew if you were there or not. So that hats
that's
off to hats
yeah.
off to, what a solid guy.
I think both of them, Kay, solid too, right? She was always a sweetheart every time we did
Oh,
go out to the
absolutely.
racetrack or whatever. But
Absolutely.
um, it seems like I think had we raced when there was internet, it would have really probably ruined a lot of stuff because
Yeah.
as we got older in our careers and the internet came around, it was kind of a place for, certain people that drove certain car numbers to go on there and just smash everybody, right? There was no common courtesy left
No.
after that. So you drove a street stock. Interesting that you built it a year before you were going to go on your mission. You knew you were going to go on a mission.
No, not at the time. No. Mm-mm.
It was in question in your mind, or
Oh, yeah. Honestly, when I built it, I had no desire to go.
so it wasn't it wasn't. Did your dad go on a mission?
No. Dad
Was
wasn't a member until I was probably 12 or something.
interesting. You know how that went down?
Yeah. So Mom was the member. The members are from my mom's side. It goes way back. Okay. Um, so Dad is, how he'd been since Mom and Dad met at Salt Speedway, first of all. And then I got married. They had me, and then my sister had gotten sick and had to get open heart surgery and all kinds of stuff like that at like age 7. This is about the time Elvis died. Kind of gives you the time frame where all this happened. And so she's in UCLA, and did open heart surgery. And I think it was just a wake up call for Dad to figure out if this was all real, because his daughter's getting open heart surgery, and then shortly after that, you know, the missionaries just asked him, "Why haven't you joined the church?" You know, he goes, "Nobody asked me."
Classic.
So that changed that. And then from there on out, man, he did everything in the church. He's been in 2 or 3 bishoprics and never missed a meeting, even after a late night on Sunday. you know. So yeah, he really did a lot of stuff. It was always hear him talking about what a home teacher he was and what a teacher he was. And, you know, he he uh he really did a lot of amazing stuff in the church. People could call on him and he'd help them out, especially with car problems and just this and that. Dad had a special way about him where he was so down to earth. He was approachable,
Yeah.
where people could talk to him and go, "Hey, I got this going on," and figured he'd probably know how to fix it, because he know how to fix stuff. Whether it was mechanically or personally and all that stuff. He just had a way about him that people could talk to him, and
He
he
was
would.
approachable. He was chill. It's funny, I look at some pictures of him probably before he joined the church, and he was a little ratty around the edges with this, mustache and his hair,
Yeah,
and you're like, yeah, he didn't look very Mormon then. Like,
no, it
at
wasn't.
Saugus,
Yeah.
you guys were always solid looking. You might as well wear white shirts, right? Um, but that's interesting. And so there was no pressure on you to go on a mission.
No, no, no. Yes and no.
Encouragement.
There was a time where it was getting late in the year. In fact, we were racing Mesa. It was that big street stock deal, and there was like A, B, C, D mains. There was that many street stocks. I can't remember which one I was in. Probably C or something like that. Because Saugus cars, you see some of those street stock coming, and they're like, "Where did this thing come from?" Right?
The
They're
Lakeport guys, Jerry
they're
Gay.
crazy fast. And I kid you not, Rick, it's like I was leading this thing, and something kind of told me, "Hey, go on a mission, you can win this race." I kept my promise. I went to Canada.
Gay.
So yeah, it was good. There's some racers up there. I went and found them on the island, the Midgeleys, Dick and Judy Midgley. They're from up there and hung out there and got actually prepped the car to go to Riverside for George Fulmer to drive.
On a Monday though, right?
Oh yeah.
On
Oh yeah.
on your P day.
Oh yeah.
That's an awesome story.
And then I prepped the car to go to the Australia race for when Marcus drove it. I think Dave Marcus. Yeah.
I think that's solid missionary work, to be honest with you. Right?
Hey, 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 he made me like this. I can't change it,
It's fellowshipping, right? I mean,
Yeah, man.
get around some other racers and
Yeah. Hey, you know,
so
it
you
was a
did
good
two
time.
years, 2 years in Canada,
Hmm.
came home. Did your dad have it ready for you, or did you come home with nothing
Yeah.
in the garage, or it was there ready to go?
It was in Modesto waiting for us. So we picked up a brand new Baldwin Engineering built by Jerry Baxter himself 5 days after I got home.
Man, I remember my brother when he came home from his mission, he was on his knees in his suit for a month every day. I can't imagine he probably didn't leave the house 5 days later. You're already like, here we go.
Let's go racing. Let's go racing.
Are the
Yeah.
Dodgers winning? The Dodgers winning?
Yeah, she's yelling about something, tag and go or something.
So that was a beautiful car. I remember that car. Your rookie season in Sportsman. So you must have just
Yeah,
got home from your mission. It was
yeah,
89
'89.
was my rookie season in street stocks, and really the first time I was really going to go and do a whole season and see what could happen. So
Yeah, that was a good time.
that car was fast. I remember you being on that little trailer with me a couple times with
Oh
Racy
yeah,
Raccoon going
with the
around.
raccoon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You had two wins your rookie season in 89, and you
yeah.
were ninth in points.
Mm-hmm.
Then you came back in 90, you had no win.
Yep.
Was there conversations about that?
No, no. We didn't
Hmm.
talk about that. We didn't talk about that stuff. Um, we it was all about if we just prepped the car the best we could, you know. We didn't like sit down and talk like that too much, you know. We it was all about racing. He knew he knew I was giving 110%, you know. We just missed a little bit that year, you know. But
So it wasn't like a little league dad. You're coming home and you didn't even hit the ball today. Like, why are we even doing this? Like,
no,
one of those kind of dads. It was.
mm-mm, no, we didn't talk like that. We let that all out on the racetrack, you know.
So, and look, I mean, that year you had Krieger and Spangler and Will Harper and
No,
Phipps and
Harper,
Sigmund
Phipps,
and
yeah, yeah.
Woodside. And I mean, I think Harper got busted late in the season, I think that year for illegal engine. But I mean, if you're getting busted late in the year, that means you had it, the whole year or whatever, as far as
Yeah, what
I'm
have you been getting
concerned.
away with? Yeah.
So in 91, you're always hanging around the top 10 in points and you're always very consistent. You guys never break. Um, in 91, Lance shows up.
Yeah.
Where was he? Was he racing karts? I mean, it's all of a
Mm-mm.
sudden you're 3 years into this deal. Hooper is not on a mission. He comes from a family of racers, and then did
Yeah.
he just decide, in 1991, hey, Dad, I want to buy a race car? And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it seems like he came out of nowhere, and
Mm-hmm.
he clobbered everybody that year.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
still had two wins, and that was your best points year.
Yeah. I don't even know what I did. But
Fourth,
Lance
fourth
was
in
super
points.
talented. Yeah. Okay. Fourth. Yeah. But Lance was, man, he was so talented. Lance had a way of with chassis. Oh my gosh, he's so good with chassis. He understood them, you know. Some guys really get it. And I thought I got it as good as I could get it. Dad had it better than me. But he had it real good.
So he
Um,
was hanging around. He wasn't just out messing around. He was hanging around Ray's shop or
well, he
wherever
comes on
else.
it honestly with his dad, yeah, Raymond and his brother Ray Ray. Yeah, he come on it honestly. Those Hoopers, even like his uncle Larry Hooper, he's another um, chassis specialist guy. I mean, they're just good. And Lance, I think he took it to the next level.
Um, so then 93, you come back. Is it still a Baxter car? Did you have the same car the whole time?
Up into '93, we sold it at the end of year at the end of '93.
So
We
you won
bought
the
them.
championship in 93 though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was my first year in a sportsman car, 93.
90, in '93.
Yeah. And it was awakening because I went from doing good in street stock, jumped straight to sportsman. And we got caught up in that thing with Steve Burdett and Jim Thorne and Richard
Oh yeah.
Johnson. They all were fighting. And I started the year in my own car, that 93 black Spa City car.
Yeah.
And then I ended up in the Jackson car, the 38 orange and white car.
That was a beautiful car.
It was a beautiful car, but I felt more comfortable in the Spa City car. I figured out it was a Panhard bar in the Spa City car and a Watson, and the Jackson car was a little wishy-washy.
Which one did you like better?
The Panhard bar.
Yeah.
And that body, Jim Kent helped me hang the body on the black car. It was a Pontiac Grand Prix aluminum body. And then the Jackson car just seemed so long.
It was a long car, wasn't it?
And in the Spa City car, the black Pontiac, it was mine. And the Jackson car was Richard Johnson's. And then he's on the radio. And so instead of doing my own thing and having my own pressure, I have, the pressure of the guy that spent a ton of money on a car. And
yeah,
I'm looking at a note here about that year. You won the championship. Woodside was there too. He was solid. Always has been. But I remember the first race in a Sportsman car. What do we run? 50 lap main events, 40s or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Sapper was behind me. And I remember on like lap 3 in turn 3 and 4, I was looking up at the scoreboard and I'm like, we're on lap 3. Every corner, Sapper would do that little boom,
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 boom.
boom. And I was that was Burdett's car, so the seat didn't fit me right. And I remember every time I'd slide a little further down the seat, and I remember, lap 5, lap 6, lap 7. And then Johnson came on the radio. He goes, just let Sapper go by. Let him go by. Follow him. I'm like, that's the best thing you ever said in your life. Because I was going to break my back. But I remember you probably made the dash every week that year.
I think so. I think we're on like 13 straight or something like that. Well, they paid $100. Dad wanted 100. It was it paid for our scales. By like 92, we started doing pretty good. It was a pretty good year for us, so we made good money there. 92, Dad, I think he never said a lot on some things, but if you just could kind of sit back and you go, okay, this is why he did that. So the 92, I think we raced 17 weekends in a row. Whether it was Saugus, Cajon, Orange Show, Vegas, or Mesa, we were at a racetrack. It's like 17 weeks in a row, and we did a full season at Saugus. And I almost think he was like, all right, he's going to get better or we're going to stop. And because then we started doing pretty darn good, and 93 was a pretty solid year for us. And 94 even got a little better, but it was abbreviated. But
you think that was just seat time? Like it just all came together in your mind and things started slowing down behind the wheel a little bit and confidence?
We got in a bad wreck in 92, I think turn 2, and we had to turn the car around real fast. We were both working and aerospace and all that mess, and so we had Spangler's clip the car down at his shop. And I don't know, I stayed down there like a week, and I don't think I even went home. And it came back to the racetrack like it never happened, of course, except for it had one more thing that I'd never had in all my racing career. I never had power steering. And Lauren told my dad, said, you got to get this kid power steering. Dad goes, Rob's horsepower. He goes, yeah, maybe, but you have a better feel of the car. This is a flat track, and obviously you'll have more feeling in the driver's hands. You won't regret it. And so we put power steering on it. Wow. Never had it till then.
I thought you were going to say Grubbs. Like, where does Grubbs come in?
He came in right about the same time. I think about 90, right about 91, 92. Yeah. Grubbs came involved. He was a friend of a neighbor's at the time and found out we were racing. And so we hooked up with them, and And then Pete Christensen he was the guy that did my motors at Grubbs for the for the most part. He was a good great crew member, and
Yeah.
I had Pete and I had Jake and Johnny and Joe Morelli. You know, it was a solid crew.
It's funny
Yeah,
how the racers all stayed together, like, that whole little area around Arleta where you're talking about. I mean, Inslow was down there and
yeah,
Thurkettle was down there and
yeah,
Gilliam was down there. And then you get up to Saugus and there were neighborhoods, my neighborhood, well, I grew up, I walked home from elementary school and I crossed White's Canyon. I live right behind Sierra Vista. On one side of the street was Terry Lee Holt.
oh
On the
yeah,
other side of the street was Alan Packard.
oh
And
wow,
they they were out there every, day wrenching on their
all the
cars.
time. Yeah,
But, when I had my house in Canyon Country up on the hill, Ayers lived 2 blocks from me, and then, Burdette lived there, and Richard Johnson, and actually it's by Jimmy. I only lived a couple blocks from Jimmy. But the racers, it seemed like you could just drive around and you could find them everywhere now.
yeah,
They're a little more.
it's harder to find. So Jimmy, I mean, it's funny. We talk regularly, me and Jimmy do, but and it's odd because him and my dad they knew each other, but they weren't like buddies, you know. And one day I was, running at Saugus, and Dad was, turn one, turn two, watching the car. And Jimmy stood next to him, and when I come off the racetrack, Jimmy pretty much sat me down, and we had a nice talk about how I was driving. And he taught me some things that day that just kind of helped turn me around. It was all basically hands and feel and all that stuff. And, what he said was a huge help from there on out. And so I, had utmost respect for that. Um, and I just got his number one day, and we talk probably once, twice a month now. And when he comes through, he'll spend the night here, stuff like that. So, like
Yeah, he's a sharp guy.
when we did that show with him, with my wife and I went and set him up on the Zoom and all that stuff at his house. There was a whole nother show. You didn't get to hear it because I was there an hour and a half before the show started. Oh man! And then he came here one night and we talked outside till almost 2 in the morning. There was another show, that could be done. It's just incredible.
Yeah, I should
But
do another one with him.
yeah,
You get off, you're like, man, I bet he had a lot more to say.
yeah, it was just absolutely incredible.
Well, that one
You
night we
know,
sat at Reeves' house, he was telling stories that he didn't even have that he didn't even tell on the podcast.
yeah,
And I was so moved when we took him to see Petty. When we that
mm,
that was a moving thing because Inslow, you can hear his pain. He doesn't. I don't know. I don't know if he doesn't know that he was the shit, or if he's humble, or he doesn't want to act. But he was, and
hmm
he's been ripped off of his legacy, his NASCAR legacy. We talked about this. It said NASCAR wins the Cup series on their patches. They had to go do meet and greets for NASCAR. And
hmm
they're all forgotten and buried into the Menards, but that's a whole different show. It gets me worked up, right?
hmm
But I remember, God, when we were standing there and JFI, for forever,
JFI.
that should be on his headstone. JFI.
That
I
was
will
hilarious.
forever hear Kyle Petty screaming that. JFI, oh, come inside. And we went in like the secret door, like we had the secret
Yeah.
knock, and then Richard Petty gives him a big hug,
Yeah.
and I could just see Jimmy light up, right? Like these are
Like
my
us.
peeps.
We're lighting up too, right? And then
Yeah.
here we're thinking he's equal. But
Because you have your peeps. See, we're in places like right now where there's nobody in your neighborhood that was a racer or that can talk racing or that probably has any
No,
respect for it or
no,
even mine. You know, my
no.
kids say some stuff once in a while. Um, but for the most part, when you get around like that night at Reeves' house, we should do that stuff more often,
Oh, I agree.
because it's just story after story.
Yeah, I agree. That was a good day. That was a
And
fantastic day.
you and I, we didn't hardly ever talk at Saugus. Remember, I think it was in my super late model and when I got in my modified that started talking to your dad about stuff, you know. Um, and and like you said, found him to be approachable and honest and be disappointed. Spangler's were really instrumental in my success in
Mm.
modifieds, and my super late model, Ayers was pretty smart, and he and I built a pro stock together. Um, he was a great fabricator. You know, you guys and what your dad did for a living and what you did for a living, those are, you guys are working for your pension. Those are modest living, grinded out jobs,
Hmm.
looking at my retirement day, right?
Hmm.
There
Yeah.
were dudes that had a heck of a lot more money than your dad when he was running West. And certainly there were dudes in the pits that had way more money than you guys had
Oh,
when
yeah.
you're running your sportsman car.
Yeah.
I mean, wreck it and I'll be no big deal. Joe Heath, I'll wreck it, be back next week. Richard
Oh,
Johnson, I'll
no.
wreck it, be back next week. No big deal.
Yeah.
But when you're
Yeah.
driving a car that's sitting in your garage that you and your dad built together, and you're living paycheck to paycheck. You have miles to feed. Your pops has miles to feed. If I wreck this car, I may not be back next week.
And Rick, Dad had a rule, and everybody knew it, that our paycheck never went to a race car. That we had to hustle it. We had to do tune-ups, brake jobs, motor jobs, whatever it took to to repair that car. Yeah, it was like we no, the house money was the house money, and the race money was there. If the house needed the race money, it got it. It never went the other way. And we've seen families suffer on account of that. Um, not
Agreed.
not not living by that. But Dad was, yeah, that never happened. It never happened, and he was very
I
successful
agree.
with it.
That
Yeah,
was sage advice on his part. And who wore the pants, your mom or your dad?
I think it was 50-50 or 100%, 100%. To be honest with you, they both met at the racetrack. My grandpa, my mom's dad, he owned a race car at Saugus. That's why she was there. Okay. And so a young man by the name of Ray Dilger was driving that race car. And he married one of my aunts. So Ray Dilger is my uncle. So I had Ray Dilger, my uncle Mike, my dad. They were Saugus guys. So growing up, watching all that, you just wanted to be like them.
And of course, Dilger, tragic passing
Yeah.
to him. And he was Brian
Oh,
Kelly's
yes,
dude. I think Brian worked at his gas station or something there.
he did. I think he was instrumental in helping him get in his first race car or something like that, loaned him money or something. That was Ray. Ray was just an absolute stand-up guy, you know.
Who went first at Irwindale? Like you won the championship in '07 and '09, and then did Trick race after that, or did he race before
Yeah,
you and he raced after that?
he raced after that. He raced before his mission and a little after. He actually was racing Irwindale before I think he even had a real driver's license, actually. So we we didn't practice on Fridays much. And then we got it. We started doing it a little bit more, and I would test 2 or 3 times, and then I let him test the rest of the night with Dad on the radio, coaching him how to drive. Shoot, man, it didn't take long at all for him to be, a tenth off, and then he was matching my times. He was smooth. He was fast. He was a good race car driver, you know. And then he finished in the top five, I think. Yeah, I mean, you know how it is. You get milestones like when you make tech at Irwindale. Oh, your boys in tech. Oh
And,
man,
and then you learn like this sucks.
this is great.
Can I just
And I
say I don't
remember,
want to go
I'll
to
never
tech and go
forget
home?
Zajac. I got a picture of him and Zajac holding a $5 bill or a $10 bill for making it in tech. It's like, and we still got that bill from Ron. So yeah, it was just proudest. That was a good
Do
time.
you have stuff? Does your mom or you, or I mean, do you have a room? Do you have a garage, or is it just like in a box in the attic somewhere? I threw all my stuff away. I don't have anything. Um, what about you?
Mom has a room for dad. It's pretty cool. She has a lot of pictures from his old novice days where he ran a car number 535. That was the Ford, and then he was a car when they ran like 3-digit numbers, 265. So he has several pictures of that. Permitex car from Riverside. It was an orange 66 Chevelle. It was a beautiful
Oh
car.
yeah, yeah.
And
That was like Jerry Baldwin's car, right?
yeah, something like that. And then, in fact, one of those, he had a 57 Chevy, and that's when the orange shells bought from dad. Now she's got a lot of pictures of that. And then she has some shells. She got like our championship trophy from Saugus and his rookie helmet. Back then, they gave you a NASCAR rookie helmet. She's got that and some pictures like that. So that's dad's room.
Does she
And he
have the
also,
picture of him getting that rookie helmet?
yeah.
To get, because I was looking around, that was taken by Getty Images. Like you can go to Getty and buy that picture.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it has him and
Yeah.
the Winston lady and then the NASCAR official and
Yeah. I think that NASCAR official is Roger Bear.
yes.
Yeah. He's an outstanding guy. Man, he did a lot of help for us. I mean, when we raced Winston West, we just didn't go there race. I mean, that big Winston cigarette pack balloon. Remember seeing that thing? It was like 3 stories tall. We towed that thing around for years, and we had to set it up before the race and take it down after the race and after we raced, and we took that track to track for I don't know 2 3 years.
That had to be conflicting,
It
right?
it, it was conflicting, but if you didn't do it, pretty good chance you didn't go.
Yeah.
Because it helped offset a lot of costs.
Because my bishop hated that I raced. He just basically would say, "You're with just a bunch of smoking, cussing, drinking slobs. What are you doing?"
Yeah,
You know,
no. I mean, I don't know if they thought that or we just didn't care because we were,
both are valid.
it's a sport. I mean, to do the sport, you don't have to break a covenant to break through that sport. I don't have to partake in. I mean, I would call Winston Cup all day long at church and never relate that it was a cigarette.
Yeah, I didn't really
It
think
was
of
the
it that way
sport.
either. Yeah.
It was the
Yeah.
sport, not the cigarette for me. So I never even put that together till way later in life. I don't know.
So let's end this with you told me a lot of spiritual stories that moved me. The one about meeting your wife was one of them.
Mm,
Um, but the one about Trick, where you guys were in the garage and you were working on the car, and
hmm
something just didn't feel good, and
Yeah, so
you
we
took a
were
walk.
we were in Quartz Hill. We lived on a small street, 3 houses on one and four on the other. And we were on the side of the 3 houses. That was our house. We were in the middle on one side and working on the truck, getting ready for him to go race everyone down. This is after his mission. Okay. And so I'm working on it and something ain't going right. So I always had a deal where if I got really frustrated, I would just stop what I was doing and walk around the driveway, just kind of look at the trees and listen to some birds and look at the grass and just kind of cool my jets, if you will. And at that time, I'm doing it. About halfway through, I hear from my son, "Hey, Dad, what's the matter with you?" And I said, "Hey, come here. Let me talk to you for a minute." He goes, "What?" I said, I'll go down either way. Well, I'll turn left or I'll go right with you. Either way, whatever you want to do, I'm happy to go whichever direction you want to go. But I got to tell you, at where you're at right now in age and in your life, if I had never went to another racetrack, darn, my wife's going to hear the rest of this story. I would own every house on this street. And he goes, "Yeah, right, Dad." I said, "Oh, if there's one thing I'll do is I'll never lie to my son." 2 weeks later, he goes, "Dad, I got a job in Utah. I'm going to go back up there," because that's where he served his mission. He had connections and never looked back. Now he's got a beautiful home, beautiful wife, two beautiful kids right now, and he's happy. And if he had stayed, we would have had fun, absolutely. But with all the racetracks closing down, I mean, what are you going to do? So he's he's just living a great life, and great kids. And I got technically I got four great beautiful grandkids that have so much fun with them all the time. But he had the strength to leave it. And use the right word when you said I released them. That hit home. When you use that word release, and you know what I'm talking about. Boom. And now we're all, I mean, if he hadn't have done it, I'd be in a different spot today. I'd be sitting back in California paying big taxes. What am I going to do with this race car and this race team? What am I going to do with it? But now here we do different stuff all the time. We're having fun. We're doing stuff we never could do because we're always at a racetrack. No regrets doing that, but at the same time, it's pretty neat being able to go do different things.
Yeah, it's consuming. But I remember when you told me that story, and I remember, I don't know, you felt, I can see that the anguish or the pain, was it the right thing to do or was it not the right thing to do? And I remember what hit me right away was it was the right thing to do. And it was the right thing for you to do as a father. As hard as it would have been for you, even if you were going to be stuck with a car and a trailer and you wanted your son to follow in everybody's footsteps, the courage and the spirit that told you, I got to have this conversation with my kid. And in the same token, had it gone the other way, it would have given you peace of mind. You're going to get peace of mind either way, Pat. You're going to get peace of mind by seeing your son flourish in his own and go off, and he has a wife now that he wouldn't have had the same wife then, and you wouldn't have the same. Your dad wouldn't have sent the same kids and the same wife from heaven, right? He would have had to send somebody in California rather than somebody in Utah.
Yeah.
And so it changed the whole course of your family based on something that you were moved to do. And you were going to get peace of mind. There was no poor decision in that. But as a dad, you stepped up and released your son of a family, I don't want, let's just say burden or expectation. And you did it for your dad, for your uncle, for the pressure on those kids that keep going. It was amazing, and it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, it really worked out.
All right, I lost total track of time. I've been trying to look at the Dodgers score too.
Yeah, they're winning 7-6.
Yeah,
it's final. It's over. They just won it.
All right. Then we're going to stop this and go watch the celebration. But hey, listen, I appreciate you coming on and appreciate you sharing.
Thanks, Rick.
And if there's some stuff that we missed, we'll do a round two. And you need to send me a picture of your dad's room at your mom's house so I can take a look
All
at
right.
it. And
Give me your-
apologize to her that I waited so long to do this, and
No. All
appreciate you. And
right, brother.
champions after champions after champions, and I appreciate you, Pat. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Frank. Thanks a
We'll
lot.
see you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.